now we will hear from Mr. Shapira.
Oh, sorry. I will maybe start with what Amit just ended, that we need a democracy, which is exactly what the previous speakers, Dalit and Miko, were talking about. Democracy means equal rights, equality, freedom, and all these nice things that we learned in elementary school. So I do believe that bringing democracy to the Middle East means to have equal rights, equal obligation, equal citizenship in a country that, wherever you are, a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a secular, you have the same right. So until we get to this point, whether it's one state or two states, it doesn't really matter. We will continue to see all this violence, and we continue to meet in this kind of venues, maybe in 10 and 20 years, and talk about suffering, and thousands of more people will die, and more war profiteers will make a lot of money from that. But we will meet here in similar rooms and continue to talk about how devastating this situation. And I have to be honest and say that I'm listening to all the previous speakers, and I see the reaction in the audience, and I don't really know what to tell you, because there are different groups here. One group wants to hear something that Rabbi Pinchas said, that God gave us the Kushan as the Bible, and the Palestinians do not exist, and let's hope that they will evaporate. One day we'll come home and Israel is just for the Jews. It sounds like that. It's completely unrealistic, and it's even in Israel, opinions like that would seem very, very extreme. You will hear it, in the Kahana movement and other groups that God gave us the land, and the Palestinians will find a home in 22 other Arab countries. This is not realistic, and I must say that you're talking as a rabbi with authority, but even in Israel, the majority will say that this is a little bit surreal. I want to refer to another point that Amit mentioned about dialogue, and part of my activism is being a facilitator for dialogue groups between Jews and Palestinians, and religious and non-religious, and all different combination of human beings. And I strongly think that this is the gate, this is the door to open our hearts and to start to understand each other within the Jewish community, between Jews and Palestinians, between people in the world in general. And I strongly support that. But we have to see this whole concept of dialogue in the Middle East and the last years, decades of peace negotiation in the big picture. And in my opinion, and I'm sure that there are many people who agree with that, it serves as a pretext to continue and confiscate more and more land, create more facts on the ground in Israel and Palestine, which means eventually, when some solution will come, more land will be ours and less land will be them. It's very simple. And the ongoing negotiation in the last decade serves as a great, perfect tool to achieve that. Even in the days of the Oslo Agreement, with Barak trying to continue that and everything, the amount of settlers was doubled. And the life of Palestinians was worsened. And the economy of the Palestinians became worse and worse. And the Israeli economy just bloomed. All this stuff that you can probably read about if you read the book of Naomi Klein, The Shock Doctrine, you'll see how some countries can actually profit from an ongoing violence in this land. And that's what happened in Israel, for example. So I didn't really know what I want to say, because there are so many different people here. So maybe I'll start by telling you a little story of something that happened to me as an Air Force captain when I was flying Black Hawk in the Israeli Air Force. It was the year of 2002. In the summer, was standby in one of the Air Force bases in the center of Israel. And we had a call that we have to fly as soon as possible and rescue civilians that were injured or killed by a Palestinian in the settlement of Itamar. Itamar is a very, very radical settlement that is right out of the outskirts of Nablus, Shechem. I was there with the helicopter and a rescue crew behind, and we were the first helicopter to get to this area. You can imagine, it was night and dark. You turn off all the lights, and you don't want anyone to see you because maybe some fighters are sitting in the darkness somewhere and waiting for you to land and shoot you. And you see the tracers in the sky, and you hear all the noises in the radio, and you know that the attack helicopters are coming, and you hear on the radio the ground forces are trying to surround the house and everything. We landed and waited for a few minutes, and then they started to bring injured kids, dying kids from the settlement. The helicopter was filled with bleeding kids in a very bad condition, and we took off to Tel HaShomer Hospital next to Tel Aviv. It took us just 8 minutes, and from this horror area, all this battle zone, we are suddenly in shiny, beautiful Tel Aviv with all the lights of Gush Dan, the center of Israel. And in the final, while landing at the hospital, I look underneath and I see a wedding. And people are partying and having a good time, and I see dancing, and I see all the tables with food and everything. Just, a wedding, a happy wedding. And just few feet above them, in the back of my helicopter, kids are dying, and maybe they are not going to make it through the night. We landed there, they took the kids to the hospital, cleaned a little bit the blood, and we flew back to Itamar to bring more injured. We did that twice, and every time, as I was landing and taking off, I see this wedding, and the wedding is going on, and people are dancing and drinking and eating. And I remember thinking to myself, sitting in the cockpit, how much these people down there are disconnected from reality. They have no clue. They don't know what is happening a few miles to the east of them. For me, it takes just 8-7 minutes to be there, but for them it's ages, ages. So far and removed from the reality that they are able to continue the party. It took me about 3 more weeks to connect this experience with another experience. And the other experience was, it was not done by me, but an Air Force pilot dropped a 1-ton bomb on the house of Salah Shehadeh. He was one of the leader of the armed branch of Hamas in Gaza in 2002. And dropped this 1-ton bomb, killed about 15 civilians, including 9 children, babies, and everything. You can imagine the catastrophe around it, and about 150 people were severely injured. These kind of attacks, compared to what happened later in Lebanon and later in Operation Kasred, is just nothing. It's just one thing out of tens and maybe hundreds of bombardments. But for me, I was as if I was one of the kids there that was bombed. It was as if the naive person that I used to be, that sit in the helicopter, think that these guys there in the wedding are not connected, are the problem. But I understood that I'm actually not connected to the reality. And this is my message to many people here. We have to start to connect to reality, and the reality on the ground. Whether I have time now to talk about the future solution or not, in general I agree with what Dalit and Miko was saying, but we have to start to be connected with the reality. I encourage you to go to the websites, for example, of Breaking the Silence. Just start to read and watch videos and understand what's going on in Israel and Palestine. People are being killed on a daily basis. People are not safe at home, not safe in the street, whether they are activists or they are not activists. You have no equality, you have no basic human rights, and it's all done by the approval and the financial and the military support of the United States of America. And I will conclude my little talk by telling you another very short story. In 2005, it's very short. In 2005, I came here to speak in the Capitol Hill with representatives from the Congress and the Senate. And I met with all the staff members of Senator Obama. It was just a few weeks after he was first elected to the Senate. All the staff members were sitting in the room, talking with me and with my friend about all these issues. They agreed with every word about the settlement, about the military aid, about the need to put pressure on the Israeli government to stop the occupation. But then, because they were not experienced probably and quite fresh in their job, they revealed to me the truth of them. And they said, you know, Yonatan, we agree with everything you say. But before Obama votes in the Senate, we have to make this phone call to AIPAC. Okay? That to conclude this thing and to connect what we do here with what's happening on top of here. Thank you.